usually says right there. I'm sitting in the last fight.
The Board of Trustees regular meeting is now called to order at 4:30 p.m. We welcome members of the public. Instructions on making public comment are posted in item 1 on the agenda. We will ask at each action item if there is public comment. Armando, could you please do roll call?
Yes, of course, Madam Chair. Student trustee Dizon.
Here.
Trustee Dodd. Trustee Kishnev.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
Trustee DeLuna.
Present.
Trustee Rios.
Here.
Trustee Iverson. Trustee Baker.
Here.
And Trustee Dodd. Everyone is present.
All right. Trustee Dodd, don't sit down. You can lead us in the pledge.
Yeah.
As we gather today, it is important to acknowledge that Napa Valley College and the surrounding Napa Valley sit on the unceded traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homelands of the Miwok, Patwin, who are comprised of 3 federally recognized tribes, the Cachihil-Dehe Band of Winton Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzal-Dehe Band of Winton Indians, and the Yocha-Dehe Winton Nation, and Wapo, including the Mishwa Wapo, also known as the Anasatis peoples. As part of Napa Valley College's mission of transforming lives through excellent educational and professional opportunities that are student-centered, equity-focused, and community-oriented, and in accordance with the college's values of accountability, integrity, inclusion, respect, social justice, and sustainability, we make this acknowledgement. We also affirm that this acknowledgement is insufficient. It does not undo the harm that has been and continues to be perpetrated against Indigenous people, the land, and water. May we hold steady in our commitment to be in solidarity and in action to seek equity and justice with the Miwok, Patwin, and Wapo peoples. Okay, moving on, we have the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? None noted, then there are no changes. The agenda is adopted as presented. Next, we have reports from the constituent groups. First, I have Associated Students of Napa Valley College. Do we have a representative?
We do not.
Do not, right? Then next is Classified Senate Report. Michelle Viante? Viante.
I don't believe we have a classified report.
All right. Classified Association Report. Kiara, I saw her.
Hi, so I am here today as usual to provide a constituency group update on behalf of classified employees and the classified union. Won't come as a surprise, I hope, that we are struggling with low morale as an employee group and as a campus community as a whole. Our members are still reeling from layoffs announced last month and are struggling to make sense of the changes that are still before us. Last time I spoke before this board, I suggested that NVC is on the verge of an identity crisis. As a community college, which community exactly do we serve? Another framing might be, what are our institutional priorities? On paper, every committee and work group on this campus refers back to our institutional planning priorities, which include the charge to be student-centered, equity-focused, and community-oriented. I don't think any of those charges should come as a surprise to the members of the Board of Trustees. In practice, though, our priorities look like this. On February 12th, this board voted to eliminate an essential community service in the form of the APE program and to lay off a dozen classified employees as a result of position elimination, while later in the same meeting renewing a single VP's salary to the tune of nearly $20,000 a month. As a workforce, we're now asked to consider a structural overhaul in the form of reorganization under a yet unknown incoming superintendent president. I want to believe that this moment can be one of positive change, that we can come together as a community and figure out how to continue serving our students as we have done many times before in NVC's history. but I personally struggle to believe that that is possible without demonstrated trustworthiness by those at top. I know many of my constituents feel the same. So to our trustees, especially those considering running for re-election this November, please consider how you will personally build trust with the campus community beyond the cabinet level. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Christine Tapia at Admin Confidential Senate Report.
Good evening, board, campus community. The Administrative Confidential Senate continues to support employees, students, and the broader college community during a period of significant institutional change. So in collaboration with the Academic Senate, administrators are planning Classified Appreciation Week. My colleague over here will explain some of those events in detail. Over the past month, administrators have also supported faculty, staff, students, and community and industry partners connected to programs under consideration for discontinuance, namely machine tool technology, photography, digital design and graphics technology, and psych tech. These programs are vital CTE pathways, and their potential elimination has raised serious concerns across campus and within the community, prompting broader questions about alignment with our mission of access, workforce development, and service. Following the board's approval of layoffs last month, managers have engaged in ongoing discussions about institutional reorganization, including active review of the proposed reorganization responsibility matrix. And while intended to provide clarity, the current framework as drafted centralizes decision-making, assigns implementation to managers, and seemingly positions faculty, staff, and student roles primarily as advisory. Managers are responsible for sustaining operations, supervising employees, and ensuring continuity for students. This is true. But as the matrix continues to be refined, it's important that those responsible for implementation have meaningful involvement in shaping decisions to support effectiveness. Similarly, ensuring that faculty, staff, and student participation is substantive, not solely consultative, will strengthen outcomes. Their effective reorganization requires transparent communication, clear decision pathways, and coordinated support, especially during leadership transition, which we are facing currently. And the Administrative Confidential Senate encourages a more participatory approach as discussions continue and remain committed to supporting thoughtful, sustainable, and mission-aligned change. Thank you.
Thank you. An Academic Senate Report.
Hi, everyone. I'm Naomi Chianese, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting because I was sick, but so this is my first board meeting as a Senate president, so it's nice to see you all. Thank you. Anyway, my report's pretty limited. I wanted to let you know about some recent changes that we've made in the Senate to try to streamline things and make ourselves more efficient. And so recently we added a policy committee to our array of committees that we have in order to help do some of the research, get policies updated and approved in a more effective way. And let's see, what else did I want to do? Oh, I also wanted to open an invitation to all of you, if you're interested in what is happening on campus, because sometimes we feel kind of limited here speaking to you in this form, that it's kind of like a report out and not really a discussion. And we would love to see board members at academic senate meetings or at our committee meetings, just so you can kind of see in real time, like what it is that we do on the campus, rather than just these short little summaries that we get to give you once a month. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that you were invited and would be welcome at any of those. Like Christine said, we have classified appreciation coming up. And like Kira said, morale is pretty low among this group and among a lot of us on campus, having lost people who are really essential to our operations day to day. So we do have a classified appreciation week coming up that starts on April 13th and culminates in a luncheon on Friday the 17th. We are seeking donations from people across campus, from you as board members, from the community, to help us put on this week of activities and food and refreshments and all sorts of ways that we can sort of do something small to let classified know how much we appreciate them. I believe an email was sent out that has the link for making monetary donations, and also a link to a Sign Up Genius in order to volunteer to come to serve food at the luncheon or help us set up tables or do any of those kinds of things. So if you have time to do that, it would be wonderful to see you there as well. And I think that is it for me. So I will turn it over to John.
Actually, John, before you jump in, Naomi, I just want to say I appreciate the invite to the meetings. That is a change. We have not been previously invited. So I just want to make certain that we are getting those calendar invites because I know I am not.
Oh, yeah, they're all public meetings. So I don't think they're really calendar invites, but I can certainly send you a list of the dates and everything and make sure you're aware of that.
Thank you. Okay. Faculty Association report.
Hi, everybody. Thank you as usual for the opportunity to report on behalf of the faculty at NVC. I'm humbled as always to speak on behalf of such an incredible and dedicated group of educators. I don't have anything of major significance to report, but I did want to mention that we still don't have a full contract, even though the board has already ratified it. We're looking forward to receiving that soon. Also, as part of the terms of our contract agreement with the district, we agreed to participate in a work group with district and faculty representatives regarding revisions to the article in our CBA regarding workload. This work group is definitely proceeding productively and represents a genuine collaborative effort. I would like to specifically mention my colleagues, Professor Shauna Bynum, Professor Christine Pruitt, two of my counseling faculty colleagues, Angie Moore and Hope Scott, as they are volunteering their time and effort to participate in this important process. So other than that, I wanted to humbly ask the board to think about something they can do this semester. As a result of the recent changes the board has made regarding program discontinuance and staffing reduction, there have been some negative faculty impacts. Most of these were foreseen, but they do represent a burden on a group of educators that are already dedicated significantly to their work at our fair institution. Therefore, I would think it would be a good idea for board members to reach out to those faculty experiencing the effects of these changes in order to understand the impact of these changes more and hopefully allow it to inform your decisions going forward. So in the spirit of moving forward together toward a future with new leadership and renewed collegiality, I'll talk a little bit about those folks. First, I wanted to point out our faculty who are working on their academic areas going through the program discontinuance process or are otherwise being affected by course or department cuts. In particular, our tenured faculty in digital design and graphics technology, Professor Gary Stroman, tenured faculty in machine tool technology, Professor Stan Hitchcock, tenured faculty representing photography, Professor Mei Zhang, and tenured faculty representing the psychiatric technician program, Professors Andrea Reibel and Giselle Robinson-Piga. Additionally, I would encourage you to reach out to our counseling faculty experiencing cuts in our student service areas, including Tyler Downey and Angelina Applegate in the Disability Support Programs and Services Department. Also, I would definitely want you to reach out to Professor Christy Kling, who serves as the lead faculty in charge of our adaptive physical education course. Finally, I'd like to point out faculty involved in the work of our academic senate, who are absolutely reeling at the loss of their administrative assistant position and the impact this is having and will have on their ability to act on behalf of faculty in shared governance on campus. These faculty include our president, Professor Naomi Chianese, Vice President Professor Krista Trujillo, our Curriculum Committee Faculty Co-Chair Ana Claire Elizarasas, and Professor Christine Pruitt, who's been providing the Senate with support. This is definitely not an exhaustive list of faculty being impacted by the staffing reductions and program discontinuance. In fact, you could easily make an argument that these decisions affect all of us deeply. But the folks I have mentioned would be a good start to understanding the impact. It is these faculty and others that are experiencing the worst of the impact, and understanding how these changes impact our faculty and their work supporting our students is of the utmost importance in times like these. I also want to thank those board members who have reached out to our faculty already. They know who they are. And in particular, I want to highlight our student trustee, Justin Dizon, who has been doing an amazing job of staying informed through having conversations with stakeholders, but also taking the time to stop into classes and discuss these issues with our students. He visited my classes and his thoughts were well contextualized, and it was a wonderful opportunity for students to share thoughts and ask questions. Thank you as always for this opportunity and the faculty's position is and always will be that we are unified in our rights as the NVC faculty, ready for the challenges of the future, thankful for the lessons of the past, and passionately dedicated to the success of our students and the institution as a whole. So much.
Thank you very much. At this time, the board will devote a total of up to 15 minutes to hear comments regarding closed session agenda items. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment on closed session items?
Madam Chair, we do not have any public comment on closed session items.
Right, then we can close that public comment opportunity. And at this time, the board will move into closed session and will return at approximately 5:45 PM. Items we will be discussing are public employee performance evaluation and conference with real property negotiators. We will see you all again in 1 hour. We will have 5 speakers. If we have people that take less time, we'll be able to squeeze in more speakers. Beyond that, I would recommend if you agree with the speaker that you raise your hand. And then we will also continue to take written comment that will become part of the public record. So if you're unable to speak and you want to have your comments recorded, please submit those in writing. So, Armando, who do we have first?
Yes, Chair Baker. So we do have one written public comment that was submitted before the meeting that is attached for the record. I received 3 additional written comments just a short while ago. So these will be uploaded and submitted to the record shortly after the meeting. And then we have a list of speakers here. So our first speaker is Marissa Garcia Rodriguez.
Good evening, everyone. If I haven't had a chance to meet you, I'm a tenured professor in our Communication Studies department here at Napa Valley College. I wanted to come in and share an experience I had last night. Every semester, I teach an evening class from 5:30 to 6:55 for our working adults. And these students are highly dedicated. They go to work all day long, and then they show up and they're in the classroom to learn about intercultural communication. And they are dedicated students. They turn in so much of their work. This is my highest involved class. They're quiet, but they are present in doing the work. So last night I went to the classroom to get prepared for class, and the computer wasn't working. It was stuck in a loop, and I can handle small things, but something like this, I had no idea how to fix this. And since it was after 5 PM, there was no one I could call. So I just wanted to bring to your attention, as I understand we're in a budget crisis, but cutting back the tech department, who's there to support students and faculty and staff, I had no one to call, and it was their first exam, and I needed the computer. Thank goodness one of my students was able to fix it so that we could have our exam on time. But I just want to bring to your attention that we are offering evening classes for our adult students who work full-time, and yet the college is not able to support those classes. Thank you.
Our next speaker on the list is Dawn Madoli, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the names here. Microphone too.
Hi, I'm Dawn Madole, and I work at St. Helena Unified School District in the Opportunities Program as a para-educator. Sorry, I'm very nervous. We have 6 students in our program that we bring every Monday and Wednesday to the adaptive PE class. These students are from St. Helena, Hidden Valley, Middletown, and Angwin, and none of these towns offer this program. The AP class is very important to our students, and they benefit greatly from it. I know that we're looking to see what the budget numbers are for our particular program so that we could see if we could help with the shortfalls. We do have some funding. We do have some outside contributors that would be willing to contribute to help us keep this program. So, and with the facilities have been paid for by a bond, and the equipment is all paid for. And we have full classes every year. And also, our students come back year after year to this program. So it's a constant, the money is coming in constantly. So our main concern is like, we want to help not cut this program, but we want to help you not cut the program. And in order to do that, we just need the numbers so that we can see where the shortfall is, and then hopefully we can come to a place that we can agree upon, and so that this program could stay.
Our next speaker is Rainey, who is on Zoom. So if I can have 1 second here. Okay, Rainey, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to speak and share our thought process here. My name is Rani Patton-Trigger. My son is actually one of the students that's coming from St. Helena. His name is Joshua, and then we live in Hidden Valley. And this program is really vital, not to just Joshua, but to all the students, because it's providing safe, judgment-free environment to exercise and build lasting friendships. And I truly deeply am concerned about the potential discontinuation of this program. I believe removing this resource eliminates a critical space for inclusion and help for adults with disability in our community. And then I was also recently saw the article that was written on February 27th regarding the estate of Evelyn Allen, who bequeathed her 13-acre vineyard property to Napa Valley College Foundation, specifically to support adapted PE and viticulture winery technology program. And given the significant donation and her explicit instruction for funding allocation, I am concerned that adaptive PE program is facing cuts. If you can clarify how the funds from the Evelyn Allen donation are being allocated and whether they are being used for specific programming intended to support. And discontinuing this program feel inconsistent with the Napa Valley College commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. These individuals really truly deserve the equal opportunity and place in our community. And then I urge you to find alternative solution to keep this program available for that community. And I want to thank you for your time, and I really look forward to receiving updates regarding this important matter. Thank you for your time.
All right, our next speaker is Sandy Perlman. Sandy, do we have Sandy? No, Sandy, okay. In that case, we will go to Jeremy Barton.
Good evening. Thank you for the chance to speak. My name is Jeremy Barton. I've lived in the community since 2012. I'm the CEO of Gold River Orchards. We employ about 100 people in California. I only bring that up for relevance here in a second to share my personal testimony of why I think you should continue the APE programming. I didn't grow up with a lot of needs. I grew up with a lot of advantages. I got to go to a great university in the state of Georgia. Afterwards, I was offered great opportunities for career advancement, and it's led me to where I am today, and I'm very appreciative for all those opportunities. However, when I was a freshman in college, I suffered 2 strokes. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't write. The only thing I had was my thoughts. I was trying to attend university. If it wasn't for the programs in the university for disabled students, I would not have had those opportunities. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go and graduate. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to Costa Rica and work for IBM. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to come to Napa and work for wineries and create employment and opportunities for the people around me. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to become CEO of an organization where I have to make very, very difficult decisions on a daily basis around budgets, around cuts, around where I invest, around the importance of those investments. And I'm here to tell you that this is an investment in the community. And this is a community college. And I am not envious of what you guys have to decide upon with regards to budgets. I understand. I empathize. I, again, have to make a lot of those decisions on my own. You can't make all the people happy all the time. My role on a daily basis is to figure out how to fail less, not succeed. And that's your role as a board, is to figure out how to fail less and not succeed. And you will fail someone today and tomorrow and the day after. The trick is, how do you fail less? And for those in this room who have disabilities, there's an expense that comes with that. When I got note takers in my classes, when they gave me a lab to take tests and a computer at a time when laptops were not very frequent, there was a lot of money that my university put into me to ensure that I had an equal opportunity to graduate, an equal opportunity to go on and do other things. Had I not had those strokes, I wouldn't understand. So I'm not just empathetic to those who need the help. I also understand there's a rich reward to that investment. This community will benefit from these programs. And it is our job as administrators to find creative solutions to ensure that we're giving those investments and our community investments to succeed. If you need help finding alternative opportunities, if you need help thinking through those solutions, I'm happy to help. Please give me a call. We're administrators. It's our job to find solutions, and cuts aren't always those solutions. Thank you.
Our next speaker is William Anderson. We have William. Hello, William. William Anderson. Go ahead.
My name, I'm Nick Anderson. I did live my family home. I'm a bit concentrate on it. They addressed. I do helping people in the country. I doing writing to our brand, your country, hand. I said I was at college and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next we have John Reb.
Thank you to the board for your time. This is my son, JD. JD is a student of Napa Valley Unified School District, part of the transition program. He's attended the AP program here through transition for the past 2 years. Hearing about the possibilities of cutting this program sparked an interest in me. JD has benefited drastically from the exercise programs that are provided here for the AP program, but most importantly, what I've discovered is that the staff here has had a tremendous care for the development of these students, not only from their exercise, but just their well-being in general. Christy Kling has been running this program for 40 years at this college and has been instrumental in the development of students and thrusting them forward in this community. I have a feeling that although I know that it's difficult and we're in difficult times, budgets are tight. Cutting a program like this would result in just a failure across the board. Legally, the school is required to provide equal access to school and physical education. I asked the board just one question and I'll be done, is what's the cost to rebuild a program that is already so successful and instrumental in the development of these students? I warn you that I can consider that it's going to be a great more cost than what you're budgeted to pay for it right now. JD, do you want to say anything?
Please save our college program.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
I'm showing that just so you know, Armando, I'm showing that we still have 5 minutes and 30 seconds on this topic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Up next, we have Brian Davis.
Hello, I'm Brian Davis. I'm a student teacher with the Adaptive Therapy Program. Last fall was my first semester back after a long hiatus from school. Did not start off well. I was homeless at the time. I was battling depression, alcoholism, and suicide. On the last day of registration, I found this class. I had 11 units. I needed one more. I found Chrissy and I found this program. Not only was it a full student, but I was also able to get housing through Robin DeAngelo and the Napa Valley College at the dorms at the Riverside. So I've been there. I've been working on getting better, as well as contributing to all walks of life on campus, including the adaptive therapy group. I was also told that this was going to be a 2-year commitment for me, and I would not be able to have housing next year as well, and I would have to find alternative methods to be able to stay on campus. I had a 3.0 last fall. This spring, I am taking 16.5 units, 6 classes, 2 of them are repeats, and we'll be returning next fall as I continue my education towards hopefully transferring to UC Davis. I would hope to hope that this isn't all in vain and that this year goes for something. I will help out with the men's basketball team, but it's been just as much fun, if not more, working with the students over this past entire year. My mother was a special ed teacher for 25 years in the Napa Valley District, so I guess it just kind of rubbed off on me. I know this is about the students, but I am also involved, and I think that it's just a global picture as well, that this program is needed and that the students are great, but the people that are helping out and contributing to it also matter as well. Thank you very much.
And up next, we have Jason Bell.
Hello, I'm Jason Bell. I've worked here for 10 years in the disability support programs and services. I came back from cervical neck surgery. I was out 3 months. I'm fused from the C2 to the T1. And I come back to this. Ridiculous. I'm ashamed to be at Napa Valley College and hear this. Legal risks. Have you thought about that? 900 DSPS students in climbing. With the current plan, we will be left with 2 counselors to provide accommodations and 2 DSPS staff to implement those accommodations to 900 students. Please ask, could this be a legal liability? I have another question. How can planning contribute more to help you make more informed decisions, right? How can we help out? Our metrics show declining transfers, degrees, certificates, and among other declines. One thing that's not changing is the incline of DSPS students. It seems like the response is to not help them. There appears to be a pattern of moving forward with decisions without sufficient or accurate information. I would offer that you maybe take a look at the financials yourself, or at least provide us with the financials that you guys have so that we can understand where your decisions are coming from. I was told we are a community college district that works under shared governance, yet no joint actions were made by the administration before slashing support programs or courses that serve the most vulnerable population here. I say courses, but it was actually a program. Changing terminology is also something that's been happening here. While community members have expressed a genuine desire to collaborate, there has been no demonstration or willingness to meaningfully consider their input or explore workable solutions. This contributes to the perception that the board is acting reactively rather than taking the time to fully understand the college's operations. I give credit though to you, the board. Last year, one trustee did proactively reach out. They wanted to learn how the board could help better support students with disabilities here on campus. The fact that the college didn't respond to his request should be viewed as a significant red flag. Nothing was given to him. Nothing was given to you. You guys asked for information, it wasn't given to you. Indicating that the board is not receiving complete or transparent information. Despite this, the board continues to move forward, guided only by a small group of influential voices, while ignoring the community. That places you in a very difficult position. I wouldn't want to be in that position myself.
Thank you for your comments. And I don't believe that was specific to APE. That was more DSPS. So, and we still have 3 minutes.
That was actually APE and DSPS.
Yeah, okay, then we will this time close public comment on that topic. If there is anyone, again, if you have additional comments that you would like to submit in writing, they will become a part of the public record. If we have anyone here wishing to discuss a different topic, looks like we have at least one.
Madam Chair, we do have a few remaining comment cards with different topics. And then for folks that didn't get a chance to speak and want to submit their comment in writing, I will leave my business card up at the front. You're welcome to just send your email, and we'll make sure that your comments are retroactively entered into the record. In the meantime, we do have a continuing list here. And up next, we have Lisa Nussdorfer. And I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I most likely am.
Good evening, board. Thank you for, what do you do? Oh, nice. Hey. Thanks, Armando. If you don't know me, first of all, I'd like to share my gratitude to this board. You approved a sabbatical in fall 2025 for me in the area of statistics, and I had a fabulous time. As part of my commitment to my sabbatical, I presented on behalf of Napa Valley College last Saturday about how to incorporate chatbots and how to write and design chatbots. So I'm not here to talk about chatbots, but see me later if you're interested. It's my new passion. Anyway, I'm here because when I found out that CTE was being hard hit, I know that machine tool and technology is up for program discontinuous. My heart was broken. This is on the tails of adaptive PE, but as a mom of a son who's going to a trade school in Solano Community College so that he can get a job, I'm sure you're all aware that AI is changing the face and the landscape of the jobs. A lot of the students that come to my statistics classes are there because they'd like to get a job in, let's say, computer science. Computer science, what it used to take them one day to do, now takes them a half an hour. Jobs are disappearing, and we are here to support jobs where people use their hands. So that's for me as a teacher and also as a community member. I know that the California has been funding CTE, the workforce program, and I want to know, are we using this money effectively? Once that machine tool program is closed, it's not going to open again. We have spent, I don't even know how much money keeping this program for people to get jobs. And the thought that we might get rid of it, I think I want to echo the thoughts of this young gentleman. This is an investment. This is what we need for our community. For us to say we're just teaching English and math and do away with CT is unbelievable. And that's what I like to submit respectfully to the board tonight.
I have two more comment cards for now. The next one is Micaiah Dubose, and the topic listed is staff funding.
Hello, everyone. My name is Micaiah DeBose, and I am a full-time student here that is also in DSPS, and I am here for social work. When I first came here last fall, I was greatly appreciated to be able to have accommodations from my high school because I've always had IEP ever since I was 5. And because I suffer from ADHD, depression, anxiety, it helps me to know that I have a future, knowing that I can be able to have accommodations and be able to use Genio, Kurzweil, anything to help for me in my classes is much appreciated because I know that I have a future. And I just want to thank you to my good fellow counselor who helped me get those accommodations. And it's tough knowing that there's less staffing available for when there's times in need that I need to schedule an appointment, that is great importance that I need my accommodations. Because there are students like me who want to have a career, who want to be able to have a stable job in the future. It's just, we need our staff more than anything, especially with students like us in the DSPS. Thank you.
Madam Chair, we have one more comment card, and this is from Anais Terrell McKinney, and the listed subject is understaffing.
Hello, I'm Anais McKinney, and here with you all, the Board of Trustees, I will be discussing my experiences with the unacceptable understaffing on this campus. To begin, I am a student who works at McCarthy Library, and I have been stricken with type 1 diabetes. On Tuesday, March 19th, 2026, I was experiencing a diabetic emergency, and I required carbohydrates immediately. I drank my emergency juice, and it wasn't enough. I ambled to the bookstore to find more juice because the cafe was closed. When I arrived to the bookstore, I was shocked to see that it was closed at 4 p.m. due to the same reason the cafe was closed. I stood there, knocking on the door, my blood sugar at a dangerous 45. Luckily, a coworker was there, and out of the kindness of their heart, gave me a Gatorade. I would not want to see what would have happened if they weren't there due to a very prevalent issue on campus. Understaffing, not just for the cafe and bookstore, but for DSPS as well. Because of your decisions to cut staff in many different areas on this campus, it almost cost me a grim experience. You must see how these cuts affect the students you aim to serve. Board of Trustees, I ask all of you to consider making services more readily available for students like me and the ones in this meeting now. Our words ring importance, and I have faith you will all listen to me, the students throughout this meeting and staff, and to the students and staff throughout campus. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, that was the final comment card that I had.
Unless there is anyone else who did not fill out a card, we will be closing public. I see one hand back here. You want to come to the podium?
Yeah, it looks like there may be two.
Hello, everyone. I'm Quentin Jericho. I have participated in a lot of classes here so far, and I just wanted to say this is kind of like an awkward conversation I have to have. We just had I went to the nature club recently, and we had an anti-hazing meeting, and I just went to a baseball game today, and it was a good baseball game and all. I guess what I'm trying to say is okay, so I met a few of the coaches, right? And there's the one coach who actually gets paid to be there. And I was talking with the coach, and he seemed really nice and all. And the thing is he couldn't really admit anything. I know it's hard. I know for me, it's hard for me to admit when I've done something wrong, but I do wrong things all the time. So I just told him, I didn't even accuse him of anything. I just said I think I just said the word hazing, I just brought it up. And he got really defensive. He's like, there's no hazing. And I told him, I was like, hey, okay, maybe you don't see it. You know what I mean? You might not actually be seeing the hazing that's going on behind, if you're in your office or something and you know what I mean? There can be stuff that goes on, like pranks and jokes. And it's just a joke, bro. It's just a joke. It's just a prank, bro. But at the end of the day, what I want is to have this sport, you know what I mean? I want our athletics to be champions, and I think that comes through coming together as a team, caring for one another. And one thing I do know, this is kind of a random thing. He just I met Mr. Mayor and I was talking with him, and I was just I think I saw his name, and his first name's Derek. And I was just telling everyone, I'm gonna call him by his first name. I'm gonna call him by his first name. And I don't know, apparently this is one thing that was told to me by even the other coaches. They said do not call him by his first name. He won't talk to you. He'll give you the silent treatment. And I've experienced the silent treatment, you know what I mean? And so I don't know. I just think that you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not trying to call him out or anything, or get him fired or anything. But also this kind of needs, I think people should be able to address him as a friend and not oh, he has complete authority over this team. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm trying to say is we need to be friendly to one another, even if the position isn't what we want at that time, you know, because we should be all willing to care for one another and maybe do things that we don't want, you know. And so yeah, all I'm trying to say is like, yeah, have respect for one another. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you everyone who participated. So we're closing public comment. Oh, did you have one? Go for it.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Joshua Murillo. I'm actually going to be reading a comment that was put into the record last meeting, but last meeting there was quite a lot happening. Not sure if it got seen by most of the board members, administration. Before I read that, just to say that I think this college and a lot of, I guess our country in general, has an issue with worrying about the very numbers at the bottom line and missing the bigger picture. But because we are very worried about the numbers and the bottom line, this comment is a lot about numbers. Members of the board, I'm concerned by the college's assertion of a dire financial situation, and that assertion being used to justify the elimination of 33 positions, including 17 currently occupied roles. This claim deserves careful scrutiny, particularly when examined through the lens of the college's unrestricted general fund, aka the Fund 11. So Fund 11 reserves actually increased substantially in the last year. In 24-25, the reserves grew by about $2.9 million, increasing from 16.5% to about 24.5%. And 24.5% is far greater than any recommended reserve levels. So the college's reserves have increased greatly in the last year, and yet we're in dire financial straits. Secondly, there were two separate 5-year budget projections that the college put out in the last year. One was put out in March 14th, 2025, and it assumed approximately 3% annual property tax increases over the next few years. And then in September of 2025, another 5-year projection was put out that significantly moved those projections down to 1.5% annual growth year over year. So I'm not sure why that change was made, but that contributes significantly to the potential shortfall in the college's budget. There's no publicly available information I could find that would make that make sense in a way, and the county's budget has not changed since then, or their projections are still the same. And I know the cuts have a lot to do with salaries, but I wanted to point out that salaries have not actually increased all that much over the last several years. In 21-22, salaries were approximately $26.9 million, and 24-25, we're at $27.1 million. This is not a very large increase. So over the same period, total operating expenses increased from approximately 5.3 million to 7 million. These are operating expenses in the Fund 11. And the subcategory other operating expenses increased from about $500,000 to over $2.5 million, which is a 4-fold increase. Yeah, those are some numbers that are concerning when I look at it, this situation from an outside perspective. I don't quite understand exactly the dire financial situation that we're in. So perhaps you could think about that. And this comment is in the February 12th board meeting public comment if you wish to read it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then now we are closing public comment. We're moving on to the consent calendar. Is there any public comment on items on the consent calendar? Not.
There's no public comment.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
And
I'll second.
so we have a motion from trustee DeLuna and a second from trustee Olson. Can you take the vote, please? Or we just actually just do it. Let's say all in favor. Yeah, because we're all here. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Right, so moving on to general information items. We have the CCCT board elections. So Armando, I believe you're going to be walking us through that.
Just briefly to note, and then I'm actually going to turn it over to our resident member of the Triple CT board. But I will just let the board know that the election period has officially opened. This year is a little unique in that there are 9 seats, therefore 9 votes, and a total of 9 candidates. So it makes the selection rather straightforward. But I will again just turn it over to our resident member for any additional context.
So we don't have to pick 9 people. Because the voting is by all the school districts, the people with the most votes win. I mean, we can go ahead and just approve all of them, but I have some recommendations, for all of them. But you know, as Armando noted, there's really no other choice besides that, because we do have to fill the 9 seats. So, and we could just approve the recommended or the nominees as they are.
Is that would that be your motion?
That would be my motion, but
All right.
the board will not be doing anything different. Really.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from trustee DeLuna to vote for the nominees as presented and a second from trustee Dodd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. Now moving on to 9.2, core indicator reports, information item from Dr. Warnall.
Good evening, board. And Armando, could you? Yeah, thank you so much. I am here with my colleague, Dr. Ryan Grimm, who is our new Director of Institutional Research, and we will be jointly presenting PowerPoint momentarily on the core indicators report.
1 second. Oh my goodness.
I saw part of it over in the, oh, there it is. Okay.
Bear with me, folks. I'm having a little bit of a technical issue here. Okay.
There we go. Okay, so there's the title page. So Ryan and I are here to present the core indicators report, and I'm going to outline what we're going to be covering briefly today in kind of a tag team fashion. So go ahead and advance, please. Okay, so what I'm going to be covering are first the context of the report, so the purpose of the report, and then I'm going to hand it over to Ryan, who's going to cover the 24-25 core indicators report and our recent performance on those. And then I'm kind of serving as the bookends, if you will. I will give some messaging about a future board item that you will see later this semester. So go ahead, please. All right, so the purpose of the report is all couched in accreditation requirements, and I'm not going to read through this whole slide, all of the details, but standard 1 concerning institutional mission and effectiveness is where the core indicators report kind of resides, as it is it is closely connected to our institution set standards and setting institutional goals. So I've listed here standards 1.2, 1.3, and 1.5. These might sound vaguely familiar because they do reflect the old accreditation standards, but these are the new ones that were approved by the commission in 2024. So I'm just gonna, so the institution is expected to establish meaningful and ambitious goals. That's 1.2. 1.3, we're expected to hold ourselves accountable for achieving our missions and goals that we have identified. And then standard 1.5 indicates that we should regularly communicate progress toward achieving our goals. And so that's part of the reason that this report is coming to you this evening. The note at the bottom of the page is just a reminder that the core indicators report is one of the mechanisms that we use annually to monitor our progress relative to our established institutional goals. And you might recall that last month I brought the annual progress report to you all, and that's another one of the mechanisms that we use. I think now I hand it over to Ryan. So I'm happy to introduce Ryan Grimm to the board.
Hi, good evening. As Robin said, I'm the new Director of Institutional Research. and I moved to Napa for this position, so I've been really enjoying my time here, and it's glad I finally get to present in front of you. So the core indicators, we have 5. I'm going to walk you through that first table up there and through how it's formatted, and then the same structure will apply to all the remaining tables. So the first one is successful course completion among credit students in fall and spring. Leftmost part of the table contains the institution set standard. That's like the floor, the minimum level of performance we want at the college level. On the far right is a stretch goal. That's an aspirational goal that Robin was referring to. And we expect that actual performance on successful course completion would fall within that range between the floor and the ceiling there. So in the first one, you see 70% as the set standard, 76% as the stretch goal. And between the 3 previous years, our performance has always fallen within that range. And there you see the 3-year average on the second to last column on the right. What I'll mention is that if a cell is in lavender, and you can see in fall to fall persistence it is, that means that that number is not just below the set standard, it is less than 95% of the set standard. So if we look at successful course completion, that set standard 70%, 95% of that would be 66.5. So if any of those numbers were below 66.5, they would have a lavender cell. Right now, on successful course completion, we are within that range for the last 3 years. Moving down to the next one, fall to fall persistence. So this is students who start in fall and then are still enrolled at Napa Valley College the next fall. The set standard is 50%. You can see in fall of 2021 to fall of 2022, we were below that 95% threshold. The subsequent 2 years were within the range, and the 3-year average was on the low side, but still within the range of acceptability. Next slide, please. These next 2, degree recipients and certificate recipients, these are actual numbers of students that receive degrees, unduplicated, because some students can receive multiple degrees or certificates, and if they receive multiple in a year, they're only counted once. Count the students, not the degrees. So you see the stat standard of 475 with a stretch goal of 625 on the right. The past last year, 2024 to 25, we fell below that 95% threshold. And the 3-year average is also just below that 95% threshold. 95% would be 451.25. And for certificates, we have been comfortably within the range between the set standard and the stretch goal for all 3 past years. Last slide, please, or next slide. These are transfers to UCs and CSUs only. These do not include other colleges that are not UCs and CSUs. That should be added as caveat. Set standard of 300, stretch goal of 425, and all 3 of the past 3 years plus the 3-year average have all fallen below that 95%, and that would be 285. And I'm going to pass it back to Robin now.
So I'm here to signal something that will be coming to you in May. So the current institution set standards and stretch goals that Ryan identified on the the beginning column on the end column those were all established back in 2019. As we're all aware, a lot has happened since 2019. So as a result, this year, the Planning Committee has been reviewing and refining the institution set standards and stretch goals. We have done, so the work to date has spanned over 6 meetings since the fall semester. And we are considered all aspects of the metrics and the institution set standards. So we have been reviewing and refining the metrics themselves. We've been adjusting the institution set standards and stretch goals associated with those new or revised metrics, or the old ones that depending on what we did with them. And then we are also recommending changes to the trigger points or the thresholds that would lead to an institutional planning response should we ever dip below the established standard. So that will be coming to you. The planning committee has made tentative recommendations on all three pieces of that. So the metrics themselves, then the ceiling and floor, and then the trigger points. And we have engaged this week in sharing those recommendations with the campus community. There was a campus-wide forum that was held earlier today. We do anticipate taking action on final recommendations at the planning committee meeting next month, and we will be recommending all aspects of the institution set standards to Dr. Powell in April, and then they will be coming to you as a larger information and action item in May. Happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? I know I had one clarifying question. So we set these in 2019. I think I was one of the people that pushed you to stretch. And of course, now we've had a pandemic and a bunch of other things we didn't anticipate. The changes that you're bringing forward next month, is that adjusting or is it setting new goals? What does that actually look like?
The above. So as an example, one of the metrics included in the report in previous years, including this year. So for persistence, we included fall to fall persistence. The planning committee in their very thorough review of the existing standards used the educational master plan as one of the pieces of information for context. The metrics in the EMP have fall to spring persistence. So we are recommending that there's more thunder to come later. So I'm just a little tip of the iceberg is that we are recommending that we shift that from fall to spring in order to align with our EMP. So yeah, and then since we shifted it, then the ceilings and floors change because the performance is in a different range than it used to be. And then, yeah, we'll talk about the trigger points in the future.
Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you in May.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the Napa Valley College Union of Classified Professionals initial proposal for reopeners. Vice President Alberon.
Madam Chair, this is the initial proposal for reopeners from the Classified Professionals Bargaining Group. This is an information item. It will be presented back to all of you next month for your acceptance of this of these reopeners.
Thank you. Moving on to 13.1, Napa Sports and Entertainment MOU and presentation. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not have any public comment.
All right, then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Reeves, please.
Thank you, President Baker. We have an opportunity to engage with Napa Valley 1839 FC and Napa United soccer programs to partner in the development of soccer facilities on campus. This is a request for a memorandum of understanding. This is not the final agreement. We invited both Alex and Eric and Carl, I'm sorry, to provide you a 10-minute brief on the proposal, and I would invite them up to the podium. Gentlemen, welcome.
I've been called much worse, so thank you. I'm Eric Housley. I know quite a few of you. Thank you guys for having us, and we're going to try to stick to, are you able to, Armando, to throw up the 10-minute thing, or should I throw it on mine so I respect your time?
I'll do it here.
I'm on the TID board, and I know when somebody gets 10 and they go 35, I'm like, thank you. I want to punch myself in the face right now. So just want to be respectful of your time. It's been a long meeting, and thank you guys for having us.
Hello, my name is Carl Freisinger. I'm the president of NAP United. Again, thank you to the Board of Trustees for having us. Special thank you to Mr. Reeves and Dr. Powell for engaging with us prior to this opportunity. Thank you very much.
So go ahead to the first slide. So I think you guys have already had this. I'm not going to read through every slide for you, but the initial concept is to add something for our community. As somebody who grew up here, I'm 51 years old, went to Yountville School. I was the solo güero in class up there. And to see how much of an island the college was on for years and how that's really closing that gap. We just thought this was a great opportunity to do something for the college where we know you don't have the funding to build and do for your facilities. And so we thought, gosh, this would be a great public-private partnership to try to bring together the opportunity to have two local programs. Napa United, we'll get into a little bit of details of who we are and why. But the concept was to say, hey, can we help raise the money to put together a program that hopefully can be usable for all of us. So go ahead and jump to the next slide. Our vision is to help the college grow their role in the community in that way. We feel like that through the partnerships that we have with the two of us, we've worked together for a long time through Napa United and 1839, that we can build something great that wouldn't just be for soccer. It would be a sports complex in entirety. The idea would even be the opportunity if down the road the women's program came in with a flag football program or something of the sort, an upgrade to try to get the baseball program a little bit better, to better protect that a little bit in staying in the current role where we're at in terms of the parameters of the actual project.
Yeah, so the goal is to develop an outdoor sports and community complex. So it would be bringing the community into it. We would have 3 full-size sports fields, one with a stadium. So it would be sports-centric, community-centric, and it would house not only soccer, but it could be lined for flag football, American football, lacrosse, and different community events like concerts, finishes to the marathon or a run. So community involvement and engagement with a lot of activities. So Napa United, just a little bit about who we are and what the need is. Napa United has been around since 1975 or 78. It is the largest sports organization, youth sports organization in Napa. Every year, our programming serves about 2,000 children. Through various aspects of our fundraising, we have about $100,000 in financial aid that we give to families and players so they can participate. And the need for us is having consistent, safe, lit fields and quality fields. Those are lacking in Napa. And so we're trying to be part of a solution to the problem where we can have the whole benefit, the whole community benefit, in addition to Napa United itself. But having the college use it, 1839, Napa United, and all and other sports organizations as well.
So with Napa Valley 1839, basically for about 14 years, I was running Napa United. We got to a point where we said, how do we get the kids? So as somebody who, like I said, grew up at Yountville School, I saw a lot of my friends that were going down the wrong path. And I thought, gosh, what if we had something these local kids would inspire or aspire to play at? And hopefully they go way further, which we've now seen with Lalo Blancas and some other boys that are in the program or others that are going. So that was the idea of building something. We now have a men's team and a women's team. We've even had 2 of each at times. But we had as many as 1,512 fans in July at our game for the regional finals. We finished number 2 in the country. So this becomes, sport entertainment. And for Napa Valley 1839, our vision is family fun entertainment that's soccer centric. So the idea would be these would be the 2 primary partners that would be coming in to say, we're very established in both what we do, to try to then say, okay, we're going to build this entire complex for the community as a whole. So you can go to the next slide. The solution is to come up with, as Carl said already, is a complex. You can keep going with that. So I'm going to show you some of the renderings and things that we have, some ideas. The idea is to go at the current site. There would be no track, just letting you know that's kind of the visual to give you an idea where the field would fall. The actual renderings, there would be a walkout tunnel for the players to come out of the stadium that would be used in first priority would be for the Napa College men's and women's soccer teams. And then if another program came in, obviously Napa Valley College would have first options. So below those stands, these are all what they call a pop-up stadium. So they're technically not built in permanently. So they would be nothing that we would be building permanent structures on the site. We would actually just be doing upgrades to the facilities. There would be locker rooms, showers, bathrooms, merchandise, concessions, all to be able to be housed under there, including coaches' offices and a trainer room. So the idea would be is they'd be able to have it all housed right down on the field and have that opportunity to do so. Some of these are some overviews of the concept. It would be to have a stadium field, 2 additional full fields. They would all be lined soccer only, because as of next year, our intention for 1839 is to be announcing we're starting in a new league, like a Pro-Am league, which would be professional in the United States, and hopefully a couple years after that to do the new women's league that will be following in professional as well down the road. None of those games can be lined with American football fields. So the concept would be is they'd be stadium lined for soccer only. But if a football program, a lacrosse program, you can bring out the temporary lining where they come out, they spray the field, and it wears off 3 days later or something of the sort. So some of these, and Carl can jump in on a couple of these, we've gone through landscape architecture and.
Yeah, so we've engaged a landscape architecture company that has the previous 2 photos. We've engaged with RSA Engineering that has done some initial ground discovery work. Well, they did a whole survey and they did an initial grading plan and identifying electricity and what electrical needs would be needed. So we've invested about 60 grand with kind of initial due diligence in the program for those slides that you've seen. And as Eric said, yes, 3 fields lined for soccer, but at least probably the other 2 would definitely have the ability to be lined for lacrosse, American football, very easy. But Napa United has a mobile robot that you punch it in and it drives itself, and in 15 minutes you can have it lined for something else. So it's definitely community. What we're looking for, the soccer stadium, that will give the ability for kind of more premium concerts, the event space, the additional soccer fields to house Napa United and the other sports programs, a walking path around the sports complex, and full benefits. Napa Valley men's and women's programming, 1839, Napa United youth soccer programming and tournaments, concerts, corporate events. So the sky's kind of the limits, but we're starting off small. Go to the next.
So the benefit to Napa Valley College right now, we're projecting this is going to cost about $12 million to put the project together. There is no cost to the Napa Valley College. We would be asking for you to basically say, we're going to give you a long-term lease option if we're going to do these types of upgrades to the facility. After a certain base would be hit, we would be paying, the intent would be is to pay a base rent that we would be giving. So you'd be guaranteed a certain amount annually. And then anything, once we hit a certain number, we would then give you a percentage of revenue above, because at the end of 10 years, any synthetic fields are going to have to be replaced. So we're looking at another 4 million at the end of 10 years that we'll have to do and replace those again. So we want to make sure that this is a long-term partnership. I like working with people that I want to be working with in the future. So there would also be removing that cost of the college of having to pay for their own facilities, upgrades to the facilities, and labor, which is a cost savings as well. So those are some of the things to keep in mind. The operation, the concept would be is a legacy donor program. We already have our first legacy donor on record that we're working out details now. Gina Gallo has come on to want to help make this happen, and she's prepared to make a lot of phone calls to others that have hit her up for years, in her words, that they owe her back in return. But she's really passionate about trying to help this project come together, and we're super happy to have her on as a partner in this. And then, so Napa Sport and Entertainment would be the company that would oversee it, partnering with 1839. Napa Sport and Entertainment is owned by Napa Valley 1839 LLC. It would be a separate stadium, call it, that would be in charge of that type of organization. And then we would set up an advisory board of 5-ish members. One of them would be someone like Jim's role, that he would be seeing those financials. So then he would see, or whoever in that role would see the fact that if these numbers are coming in at a certain rate or where they're at, that they would be respecting those numbers and saying, hey, wait, you said if you hit these numbers, we're going to get a percentage of sales. Why are you all of a sudden, giving Carl a salary that wasn't intended?
All right, I'll be brief. So our ask today isn't for everything that we've talked about. Our ask today is fairly modest. It is for exclusive memorandum of understanding that we can move forward to go after more donors. The memorandum of understanding would have milestones within there. So keeping everybody on track, and once milestones are reached, that the next link in the chain of the process moves forward, meaning the next big thing would be a definitive agreement once we show a certain funding, that we start getting a definitive agreement that kind of hashes out some of the details that Eric was just talking about. Those are some milestones that we presented that are in a draft MOU that Mr. Reeves and we are working on finalizing.
We'll just jump to, I mean, if I assume it goes to Q&A in this scenario, I don't know if is that the case? Because our thought was the last page is just our contact info. Because the milestones were obviously something we wanted to show, partly so is those, when we go to donors, like we're gonna want to get things moving at a certain point. So we want to know that we're gonna have something legally binding to protect us as well after we've raised a certain amount of money, so we can start the process moving in a forward direction. So we're in some discussion on where the best point is for tipping point in that. So that's where we presented. So thank you for having us tonight. Yeah.
Do you have any questions from the board?
I have a question. So these proposed fields would go, I assume, on our existing fields, so they would be replaced. How is that going to affect sports going forward, or our existing agreements with Blue Note for the concert series?
So in terms of the agreement with Blue Note, that will have to, that we'll figure those things out as we get further along. I mean, by the time this all comes to fruition, my gut would be is we're at least 2 years down the road. If you're in good standing and things are going well with Blue Note, great. We'll obviously engage in that discussion at that point. In terms of the fields, yes, everything is in the exact existing positions that they are now in terms of the space used. So we wouldn't be taking over anything out of that area. This would just be an upgrade to the current facility, and your teams would have first dibs on all of it in terms of the calendar and even usage for extra dates. So if the college wanted to have a community fun run, and as long as it worked with the calendar that's already set aside, I mean, Napa Valley College has first dibs to do it, but we would be fronting all the money. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So during the construction, hopefully we get that far. I don't have a solid answer. I haven't actually asked the builder this. I would hope that we could do the existing football field. And so you could always have an existing field before we move on and then take away the current soccer field. That would be my hope. So there would be a usable field for the college, during the construction. There may be a time where that's not possible, but maybe we work it out between seasons or something like that.
May I ask a question of the board president? Would it be possible to try to tie this funding with the adaptive PE class as the way we discussed it in closed session, the not for credit or non-credit version of it?
I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask that question, but I know we are exploring all options in terms of AP.
Yeah, if I could jump in, Trustee Kishnev, I think these are probably kind of individual and separate items that wouldn't be commingled.
Any other questions?
Just have a follow-up to Trustee Kishnev's first question, because I was wondering the same thing, and I'm not sure I'm clear about, I was wondering if there's a conflict in the space that you need for this project versus what Blue Note is asking for. So that's not clear to me whether there's a conflict.
Yes, Blue Note has a 3-year agreement. There's no option in that agreement. So the institution would be at a decision point at the conclusion of their agreement. I'll share with you an update on Blue Note a little later in the meeting. However, the MOU indicates that any program would not displace any contracts currently in place at the college. So if in fact the board decided to continue with Blue Note, we'd probably have to shuffle the deck a little bit and see how we could do both.
To answer your question, Sacramento Republic is at the California State Fairgrounds, and they have a stage set up on one end that's set up like it's been there for 10 years. So there is ways to actually try to do something with that. And with our intentions of doing some sort of concert series down the road, that could be Blue Note if they're a good provider with you guys and it's working out great. We can look at those details at that time. But the intention of using a field like this and having the ability to even just say, hey, I don't know if you're familiar, but years ago before Bottle Rock had planted all that grass, there was a really heavy rain right before and it was a muddy mess. And they brought out like temporary grass to cover, and it was everywhere. From that time, they kind of solved the problem. I mean, there's easy ways to just say, let's get a temporary grass to run across the top of the field for Blue Note to use it if we were to cross over. Realistically, from my experience and from talking to others that have built sites like this, I mean, it takes time. We're going to have to raise $12 million. And so we could be very easily, and Jim's kind of alluded to it too, is this could be 3 years before we're actually, finally breaking ground or something. But yes, we could definitely, I mean, it's obviously in the cards, especially if the relationship's going well, you guys are making money on it. That's a win-win because we know that it's not like it's raining money based on the discussions tonight. So.
Could you guys talk about the challenges, I guess, with the field as it is right now? So for instance, if you guys were going to think about a similar concept, or maybe you could talk about why you wouldn't consider this a similar concept with the fields as they exist right now with our current infrastructure, and how is everything set up? More just trying to understand all the challenges, I think, from a build and construction perspective that you're contemplating in order to bring this to life. And again, comparing it to existing conditions.
So why do we want to upgrade the existing fields?
No, I understand what you said.
Okay. I might help. So in the past, we've always had plenty out there.
Yeah. No, I followed along. Thank you, council member. Board member, trustee Al Emerson. Yeah, so we've already looked at it. I am aware, we are aware, and that's why we had the landscape architecture done first. And we actually looked at the flood scenario because your floodwaters of the state all surrounding it. And there's times where the baseball field's underwater for the first month of the season or longer. It's not as common, but it's definitely something that's been in there. So that is part of the plan to have the way that the fields are done when they're put in is to have a little bit of a flow where it would be through the facility, and to be able to make sure that they did it where it didn't go underwater to then protect the fields, but also to protect the usage of it. So we've already been looking at the possibility of drainage type of, like, plenty of options to try to look at that because it's definitely a concern. Yeah. And I mean, your baseball program suffers for recruitment with things like that. And especially the soccer program as well. Is this getting all cutting out on you? Sorry.
Sometimes if you speak too close into it, it'll pop, but yeah.
Yeah, to add on, one of the slides is done by RSA and it's the leveling plan. So to buttress onto what Eric said, there would be additional drainage underneath, and how the fields are, they would be synthetic turf. And so there's better ways to control the drainage and keeping the surface playable under those environments as well.
Well, just to close, I'm really excited about this, enjoy, because I was slightly aware of some of the issues there, and that's why I was just curious how you're looking at that. But it's clearly, it's a challenge, but you clearly see that you can meet that challenge, I think, with the infrastructure upgrades. And so, just to that end, I'm just thank you for what you're doing generally for the community. Eric, you're everywhere. Carl, I mean, Napa United's incredible in terms of the breadth and services that you provide to our youth, and just to have both of you come together in this joint partnership and just thinking universally about everybody, how we can create as many touch points with our community as possible to provide as much community benefit and recreational benefit to our community as possible is wonderful. And I want to do everything I can to help you get there. And yeah, again,
You have
thank you.
12 million?
What's that? I've got a phone, and so we know how that goes. And doing, because you guys aren't getting paid for this. You guys are doing this out of the kindness of your hearts and how much you guys care about Napa County, Napa Valley, and this community in general. So thank you, and yeah, very very excited to move forward with this.
I echo Trustee Dodd's comments, and it's exciting to see it coming in the community. I couldn't have thought about two better people to be spearheading it. My question, would they all be turf fields, or is there like a way of doing grass and turf, or?
So the problem with grass fields, there's like the wear and tear that happen on them where, especially with the amount of usage that the community would probably need, it just tears them apart quickly and it's hard to keep them up. And then it ends up a huge amount of water usage. So, but there are some things that I haven't mentioned to him yet that we've been saying synthetic, but there are new ones. I want to say San Jose Earthquakes and some have put in where it's like 80% or it's 80% grass and 20% synthetic. So then it brings like a root system up. So it protects the base. So it's like you have a synthetic carpet in a sense, but then the grass is also coming through it and feeding it. So it makes it more strong for the slide tackling and things that happened. It doesn't tear it up. If that's a feasible financial option and wouldn't be wrong environmentally to the amount of water that would mean. So we would definitely balance those out to see if those options are there. But there's so many new synthetic fields that aren't. There was worry years ago about the black little rubber balls there was cancer causing XYZ. That stuff has they've transitioned from all of that now.
Have any other questions or comments? If not, so we've already closed public comment for this item, sorry.
President Baker, if I can, this is an action item.
Yes.
If I can just offer a few comments. First of all, this is an MOU and not the definitive agreement. The MOU is essentially a good faith gesture on behalf of the board and the college to say, we're willing to get into this process with you and give you some time to raise the money. To Trustee Rios's concern, this is also a time constrained MOU, so it won't go on forever. So while we wish everyone well and Trustee Dodd's phone is working actively, there are some milestones that they will need to meet as part of the MOU before we get to the definitive agreement, and we hammer out all the details associated with use, maintenance, et cetera. So I would recommend that the MOU be considered as substantially complete because there are some tweaks that I've spoken with Eric and Carl about, and we would want to finish up those before it is finally signed off on.
So does that mean we are or are not taking action on it?
The board is certainly welcome to take action as an MOU that is substantially complete, or not to refer it to the next meeting. I think we're close enough that we can do the final details and finish this up to the satisfaction of the college and Napa United if the board chooses to move in that direction.
I will make a motion, if that's okay with you, Chair, to approve this MOU. It's substantially in this form and give Jim authorization to negotiate to its completion.
I would second that motion.
All right, then we have a motion from Trustee Dodd, a second from Trustee Iverson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Board of Trustees.
And good luck. All right, we're actually going to skip over the next item and then come back to it because we have someone here who's prepared to present on 13.4. So I want to get them on their way home. So it's the update on the completion of the general obligation bond refunding. We have handouts.
Thank you, President Baker. This is, you may recall that the board authorized the refunding of bond funds in their December meeting. I'm happy and proud to present Mr. Blake Boehm with KNN, who was our public finance advisor on this project, this transaction, to put a bow on it and share the good news with our board. Thank you, Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves, and good evening. Can you guys hear me okay? As mentioned in the introduction, this is a follow-up to some of the items that came to the board towards the end of 2025. At this point, the refunding process has concluded in late January, specifically January 22nd. The district went to market, at which point rates were locked in, which solidified an overall interest rate of 2.13. That lowered the outstanding interest rate for the 2002 election Measure N bonds from 4% down to 2.13. That reduction is going to produce over $6.2 million of interest cost savings for the district's taxpayers over the remaining life of the bonds. The term was not extended. The final maturity continues to be 2034, August 1 of 2034. And those taxpayers will, now the county has the new debt service for the new refunding bonds and will calculate a lower overall cost burden for each property taxpayer within the district's boundaries. On the first slide of the book, it just mentions some of those highlights that I just discussed in terms of the table at the bottom left. I think most of that was covered. I guess one thing I'll also point out, there was just over $53 million of bonds outstanding, all of which will be paid off with the proceeds of these new bonds that are carrying the lower interest costs. So that's how the refinancing or refunding process works, very similar to refinancing your home mortgage, although most times with a home mortgage, you're extending your repayment term. In this case, you're not. On the following page, one of the highlights from this process, there was a lot of work done and a great effort by Superintendent President Powell and VP Reeves and the financing team through this process. We met in person with Moody's Ratings. That's a step that is mandatory. Anytime you go out to the market to sell bonds, the investors expect to see a valid current rating in order for them to evaluate their credit approval for one, and then at which borrowing cost. I'm happy to share that through this process, the district was upgraded by Moody's from AA3 to AA2. That upgrade helps to further solidify the strength and credit quality of the district's bonds and thereby lower the borrowing cost, which helped accelerate or perpetuate the amount of savings that was realized through this refunding process. A couple of the noteworthy feedback that was given by Moody's and released in their published report was that the district has shown notable improved fiscal management practices. They mentioned specifically since 2022. They also mentioned the district's growing and tax base, property wealth levels within the district's boundaries, and also having been designated community funded status, which helps to, in their eyes, alleviate some of the volatility and variations in state funding. And so all of those variables led to the rating upgrade, which has since been marketed out to the investors and published separately by the district itself. Some of the statistics that were shared back in November and December of last year were estimates. We didn't know exactly how much savings would be realized. And again, through the course of the rating upgrade and really a favorable market tone to start the 2026 year, we were able to realize significantly better financing statistics than those estimates that were shared with the board back in late 2025, at which time we estimated the interest cost would be roughly 2.5%, again, securing roughly 2.1%, helped to drive savings that cleared more than $1 million in additional savings through this effort. So all in all, an extremely successful refinancing process between the rating upgrade, strong investor reception, and then of course, and I think most importantly, the amount of savings realized to taxpayers far exceeded what our expectations were. The last page of the presentation really is part of the statutory requirement for Ed Code, where while none of the costs associated with the refunding process were paid for by the district out of pocket, it was all funded through the refunding itself. So those savings are all net of these costs. It is a requirement to publicly show what all of those affiliated financing costs were through this process. And so that's what's reflected here on this table. That concludes my summary and highlights of the transaction. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Does anyone have any questions? No, thank you very much. Very appreciative of the work.
Thanks, Jim.
I'd like to thank Blake and RBC and our colleagues with this. This turned out much better than even our projections in November, December, and they ushered this and through very nicely. And obviously our work with Moody's helped the institution propel it to a little better place in terms of our credit rating and frankly, how we are projecting ourselves moving forward with any future bond issuance or financing. So I appreciate your good work on our behalf.
Yeah, it was a great collaborative effort. Thanks, Jim.
If I may just add one quick thanks, I'd like to extend a thanks to Mr. Reeves and to the other members of the executive cabinet for their continued leadership, strong financial stewardship of resources, particularly in very difficult budget times where we have not had the luxury of easy choices and decisions. I know it's been very challenging. I think the reflection of what the upgraded credit rating and the call out specifically to the district's practice on sound fiscal management and the contributions to the reserve balance.
Well, we got the gist.
Of not only Mr. Reeves' work, but the collective continued hard work in challenging times.
Thank you. And I think once upon a time, we were talking about doing a press release around this, and I think we should if we have not yet. So
I'll see that Jenna gets that information as soon as she returns.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to move backward again, back to 3.3 mid-year. Oh, no, sorry, 3.2 unrestricted general fund report.
Thank you, President Baker. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because we also have an adjusted budget to look at. So this is what you've essentially seen every month. This is through February of 26. Our total revenues were at 65% of total revenues. You'll notice the top line, the federal line, is 6,969% different than last year. Note that in column G, we've reflected the revenue associated with that last tranche of COVID relief funds. So that's the principal. We also earned interest. So that's down below where it says 112%. We realized the federal government actually paid us interest for holding those funds through a period of time. I think it was about $600,000 there. So that's reflected there in the revenue, and that's why you see the increased percentages there on the right column. Moving down to total salaries, you'll notice in this report, you can move down, Armando, there you go. Yeah, there, thank you. So you'll notice that the earmarks have not been distributed here. Thank you. I think we have to take some columns off of this report. So move over to the right again, Armando. There we go. So we still have the earmarks there. They have not been distributed. At that point, we're at 58%. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I have an adjusted budget report to share with you that it gives you the numbers that are revised. Again, moving down, we're at 50%. We're on target in most areas relative to where we are in the budget and expenditures. We're still trending below this point of the year in our total expenditures. We're at about 61%. So certainly based on this report, we're trending in a fairly positive direction. So I'd certainly entertain any questions on this one, but I think the more important topic is the next one.
Yes, I agree. So should we go ahead and, unless anybody has any questions, we can move on to 13.3.
Armando, is it possible to take us out of, can you show it in the full view? Take us out of the, just in PowerPoint, or is it a PDF? Okay. I'm just going to go with that's, can you go any larger? So this is the wrong schedule. There's another schedule there. Yes, thank you. President Baker, is that okay? Next item. Thank you. You can get that a little larger. That would be helpful. That's helpful. Might be better to look at the
video
screen
to the
here.
black spot.
The
Don't leave that.
the relevant, could you go back to the bigger screen, Armando? Do you mind? The relevant columns here are column E. This is the budget you approved last September as part of the final budget. And over behind Dr. Powell is the scroll to the right.
Can we move the video, that window up? Perfect.
Hey, that's perfect. Thank you. H is the proposed adjusted budget for this current year. I is the variance column. So we want to focus on this because this gives rise to the why. Why are we seeing changes here? And is there a column, a J column? It's the last column, yeah. So this is the proposed adjusted budget without COVID funding. So let's go to the variance column because that's where that's what you are likely have questions. So our revenue, I just explained, this is the last tranche of the COVID relief funds. And that's why in the proposed adjusted budget, we're looking at this increase here. And I just explained essentially what we're doing in revenues here. The proposed adjusted budget actually pulls out the COVID relief funds. So at the end of the day, end of this year, you'll see at the bottom what we're projecting in terms of our fund balance. So what we've done here is these changes in salaries take away the earmarks. Recall that we had these earmarks. We've now distributed them to all the areas based on the collective bargaining agreements. So you'll see these are negative numbers in the variance column under salaries. They've been distributed up here to the actual expenses. So you can see now that we're trending more closely to where we would be ordinarily this year. The same is true for benefits. You can see we've distributed most of the benefits to the actual budget. And so those are part of the earmarks above as well. So again, we're trending more closely to this point in the budget year, certainly on the expense side. Can you scroll down a bit more, Armando? Okay. So variance is 879. You might ask, why are we seeing a big variance here? These are supplies, 879. We added 879 here. This was, thank you. Other operating expenses, total other operating supplies. The big variance, let me look here. The big variance is right here at 335. That's a reduction. This one here, 590, if you can follow me up, that's insurance and utilities. We had some expenses there. Also,
The cost in professional services jumped here because that's where the cost for our auditor to get their 10% for doing the COVID relief work right here. So we're looking at a total change of 879 compared to what you agreed to in the budget at 8,386,000 there. Okay. This is an awkward demonstration. My apologies. Our total expenditures are changed by $2.7 million, and they're offset by some increases in revenue. Let's see. Can you go over to J on the right side, Armando? So we've pulled out the revenue, if you recall, on column J up above for that COVID relief funds. When we pull that out and we distribute all of the earmarks and the expense, and we make the adjustment in the expenses, we're looking at a reserve level of 16.95%. 16.66 is where we want to be or better. You'll notice that our reserves here, remember, they've been alluded to a few times. They were sitting up at over 20%, 28% here. That's because we had not distributed those earmarks yet. And you remember we planned for them because we didn't spend them. They flowed to the reserve level. When we actually allocated them, they actually moved to the level where we think they're going to finish. The COVID relief funds will be moved out of this area and held in like probably our capital budget. We still need to confirm that based on the board's resolution at our last meeting. So again, my apologies. This is hard to read in this context. I will share with you that what are the risks here? The risks are probably still on the revenue side in terms of property tax. We're still projecting 3.5%. I don't have any better information to say it's going to go in one direction or another. If I had to predict, certainly based on last year, I'd say it may not reach the 3.5% this year. And I would also offer that's the wise approach will be to hold on to those COVID relief funds as a hedge against any reduction in revenue. In addition, we continue to manage our expenses very carefully. We're going into our budget season now. The cabinet executive team has done extraordinary work in looking at all of our expenses. We are finishing the budget process now and seeing requests for budget much more limited than in the time I've ever been here. But we still have some challenges moving forward. So I'm suggesting it will be a tight budget next year. We're attempting to get to a balanced budget. But we may be off by a nickel or two, but that remains to be seen as we continue our deliberations about what our final budget will look like. So my apologies, this isn't more clearly articulated in the schedule, but I'd certainly welcome any questions or comments about this adjusted budget that would take us through the remainder of the year.
Anyone have questions about this? I just want to confirm what I think I'm understanding about the COVID money being taken out of that final column. That's only referencing the COVID money that was received in this fiscal year. Is that correct?
Say again?
The COVID money that we're talking about not reflecting in that final column, that's just based on the funds that were received in this fiscal year?
Correct.
Okay, and so there are still some funds, so those funds are going to be carved out and put into a capital fund.
Yes.
Are there not other funds still in that reserve account that are part of the money that we received last year?
Yes. You may recall that we received around $6 million. And total just under $10 million. So those funds are sitting there. And I will share with you that we made some commitments from those funds that are reflected here. $400,000 for technology investments. You may recall that we actually pulled those out of last year's budget because we anticipated being able to use one-time funds for those. And then $250,000 for some facilities repairs around lighting and campus safety that we needed. So those numbers are included here, but those are the only reductions to that original $6 million.
And what of the one-time payment to staff?
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry. The $1,550,000 went to one-time payments for staff.
Okay. So this is an action item, correct? We need
Yes.
to adopt this as our new budget. So does anyone have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt the adjusted budget.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? We have a motion from trustee Dodd, a second from trustee Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? No, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. $13.5 is a cash flow analysis. Mr. Reeves again.
Thank you, President Baker. Cash flow analysis, we commit to the board to provide this to you each spring so that the board has some information and frankly level of confidence that we have enough cash to operate through the year in light of the fact that as a community-based institution, our revenues ebb and flow. There's another schedule for cash flow, Armando. That it? There it is. Thank you. So cash is cash. This is not the budget. So we want to be careful that we're not aligning with budget. This is essentially a report on what cash is available to meet the college's obligations through the course of a year. We have our cash sits essentially in two places. West America Bank and then with the county. And if you just scroll up there a little bit. So this is the West America Bank. We use these for some expenses that are for trust accounts and for activities that we need to move checks fairly quickly. So this essentially says what our beginning balance was at county treasury and at West America Bank for this year. And we're sitting at about $42 million, $44 million at this point of the year. The next slide, could you scroll down, Armando? Could you scroll up to that bar chart? There we go. Thank you. So this is Treasury account and West America, just a bar chart that gives you a sense of how much money we're holding. We'll share another schedule with you. All these funds are not available for college operations because they also have some bond debt funding there that we don't touch. It hits our balance sheets and our accounts, but we don't have access to those funds. Next slide down, Armando. Thank you. So this is West America Bank. I won't spend a lot of time here. This is a fairly small amount, but it certainly contributes to cash on hand. Next slide, please. So this is the county treasury account, and you can see in 25-26 where we stand, where we stand in county treasury, and where those funds, where the cash sits in those particular funds. So you can see Fund 11 and Fund 12, how the cash, our beginning balance is 29 million, and how the cash fluctuates in and out. Our child care center is the next one. Our capital projects we alluded to earlier is the next one. Let's see. We just skipped around a little bit. Right there. Hold right there, please. So you can see where the funds are distributed. Fund 41 are capital projects. We alluded to this earlier. Retiree benefits and then bond funds on the two. The two end ones, you can see the balance 5.7 and 359, just over $6 million is held not available to the institution for any reason. Scroll down, please, Armando. All right, this is the one I like to point to because it really shows how what happens over the course of the year.
If I can call your attention to the big screen, you'll notice in 2021, in September, our cash on hand was $1.2 million. And I think Trustee Baker probably remembers those days, among others. And why is this critical? Because with cash as low as that, we couldn't pay payroll and we couldn't pay our operating expenses. It has become better over time, but our risk periods are September, October, November, and December usually our first installment comes in. So it's really critical that these periods here be well funded to carry us so that we have cash flow to meet our expenses. So you can see over time, let's look at September at that low year, how it's changed over time, so that in 24-25, we had 13 million there as opposed to 1. We had 27 million in 25-26. The average is less important, but what it's telling us today is that we have enough cash on hand, and certainly in February this year, we have about $38.7 million on hand, so that we don't have a risk of having to go out for a TRAN. A TRAN is a short-term loan. It costs us money in terms of interest, and it takes away from our operating fund to pay that interest. So this is a very important component and somewhat hard to understand by those who don't understand how we get our funding. If we had the same check every month, we wouldn't need these cash demands on hand, but we do given our cash demands over this course of the year. So this is my report. My observation is that we are in good shape relative to cash on hand and available for operations, and we do not need to nor intend to, based on the board's recommendation, go look for short-term funding to meet our operational needs.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The ranges from 2020 to 2021 in September, 1.2 million to now with 27 million. That's a pretty large range, and it's even more than double than what was available last year. To understand it a little better, what is considered like a healthy amount of cash to have on hand? Maybe considering that point of the year.
Let me frame it a little differently. You recall we speak to cash reserves in our unrestricted general fund. 16.67 is a minimum number, and if we held at 16.67, and that's the only cash we had on hand, we would the cash would slowly move away in that lean part of the year to the point where we'd have to get a loan to meet our expenses. We would pick it back up when we get the payments from property tax, for example. But during those lean times, we would have to get loans, and that's why it's important that the reserve be, I've said this before, need to be higher than 16.67. So you hold the cash in hand so that during those lean times you spend down and you're still in a relatively safe area. Justin, I don't know if that completely answered your question, but how much we have on hand is dependent on how much we spend and when we spend it, and what revenue we have coming in during that period.
Does that answer your question?
As much as I can understand it. The jump from even 13 from last year to 27 this year, that's, a double increase. And so like, if I'm not understanding the context from last year, if 13 million, I don't know if that's considered a healthy number for that point. And then even comparing it to now, like 27 million, I think that's a healthy number, from what I understand, but there's a lot of context that I'm not fully grasping, but as long as we're not, having to get a loan, I mean, that sounds good to me.
Jim, what's our monthly payroll?
Approaching 4 million.
Okay. And so minimum 10 million, maybe?
Total expenses?
Oh, no, okay, total expenses and monthly?
each month. It's on the board schedule. I think the payroll, something over 3, maybe close to 4, and then our monthly operating expenses move. I think this is a low month, maybe $1.5 million, $1.7 million. They can jump up to $2.5 million a month.
And so generally speaking, we try to have minimum of 2 months in the bank in case, well, to float us over these dry spells.
To maintain 2 months in the bank, yeah.
Yep. So, and also, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the reason why that number is particularly high right now is because of the COVID money. Is that correct?
Yes. That's certainly contributed to that number, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we can move on. Thank you. So now we are moving on to president and board reports. So Dr. Powell and VPs.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'd like to report on 2 very positive things in relation to how we are serving students. So the first is our zero textbook cost efforts. You've heard me report on this a few times over the years, and I wanted to provide this snapshot comparing to 3 years ago in spring of 2023 and the percentage of sections that we're now offering ZTC. So you'll note that in spring 23, we had all of 2 ZTC sections in our schedule, and now that was less than 1% of our courses. Now we have 210 ZTC sections for almost 40%. We're very close to 40%. Another designation that we've implemented in our schedule is the low textbook cost category, and that means that the textbooks are less than $40, which is considered very affordable. So for spring 26, we have 65 sections that are low cost textbooks. Another important thing that we've really been focusing on is not just individual classes, but ensuring that we increase the number of degree pathways that are 100% ZTC. So you'll see a list of degree pathways from art history to Spanish for non-heritage speakers that a student can complete without needing to pay for a single textbook because all of the materials are provided ZTC. We're working now on business and physics, and we anticipate having at least 5 more degree pathways that are fully ZTC prepared for fall 2026. Another positive change I'd like to report on is compared to last spring of 2025, how we're doing in increasing our international student population. So this time last year, we had 20 students from 13 different countries, and this spring we have 32 students from 15 different countries. And you'll see in that first bullet point where the distribution is. The highest number of students are from Japan. We have 6. Those numbers in parentheses represent the number of folks. And then our next highest countries are Nepal and Vietnam. We also have a very interesting array of countries represented. And of course, that's part of our goal is really to increase diversity in our student population. So we're trying to partner with lots of different countries. One other thing to note about our population is that our international students, of course, need to take 12 units to be full-time, which is part of their visa requirement. But on average, they take more than that. So the average is 13.84 units each, and 3 students are enrolled in 18 units. So they are go-getters. And we continue to grow, and our numbers are still small, but we're growing semester by semester, even while the trend in universities and colleges is on the decline. So that is our intention, is to continue growing and to expand the number of countries represented, because we really want to encourage diversification as well. Thank you.
Good evening, board. I have a couple of things I want to bring you up to speed on. Really around student engagement. I want to lift up the work of Dr. Ryan Smith, our Dean of Counseling and Student Success. Over the last couple of weeks, he took a group of young men to the AMEND conference, which is the African American Male Education Network and Development Conference down in Long Beach, California. 6 young men who could participate with him down there. And this is really around centering African leadership and connecting our students to other peers and other networks, and really enhancing the leadership skills. So I want to also comment that Napa Valley College has received preliminary approval to establish our own AMEND program here in Napa Valley College. So that chapter. That is something that we're currently working on, and I think we'll have that established real soon. I want to also lift up the National Student Advocacy Conference that happened last week. Dr. Smith also participated in that with our ASNVC leadership team. Again, taking students to Washington, D.C. to advocate on behalf of students in the community college system. They got to meet with Representative Mike Johnson to discuss college affordability, financial challenges, and gain hands-on advocacy experience and build national leadership networks. And finally, just a quick update regarding Labor Trail Village. We currently stand right around 55% with our enrollment there, our students who are there, and we are continuing to grow as far as doing outreach, connecting with really important programs, including admissions and records, basic needs, health center, financial aid, counseling services, EOPS, work. So we continue to recruit. So, concludes my report.
I would just call your attention to one item in my report. You may recall that we filed with the Board of Governors an extension, an application for an exemption from the law, 50% law. They did grant the exemption, and they cited that non-compliance is primarily due to this scale of non-instructional expenditures and rising benefits costs, not reduced investment in instruction. So it's good news. The Board of Governors, certainly we made a strong argument in that direction. We're happy to say that we have an exemption from that, and we'll be making a report to the Faculty Senate about that very soon. Thank you.
I have
1 year.
Good evening. There's a couple of items that I'd like to highlight in my report. I'd like to provide a very brief update on the superintendent presidential search. The position has closed, and the selection committee is currently reviewing applications. Our first round of interviews are scheduled for April the 9th and April the 10th. And our campus forum and second interviews are scheduled for April the 27th. For more information about this particular search, all of the timelines and information is on our website. My next thing I would like to point out is actually targeted to the women who are on our board. We're in the process of celebrating Women's History Month. And Kelly Tomlinson, if she hasn't already, she'll be reaching out to you. I'd like to interview you and showcase you as fantastic women who is providing wonderful support and services to the Napa Valley College community. And so with that, I'd like to wish all those who identify as women happy Women's History Month. And the rest of my report is submitted. Thank you.
And that concludes President area reports.
All right, thank you. Moving on to standing committee and appointment reports. Trustee Luna has left us. So nothing from CCCT. Did we have an audit and finance committee meeting this last month? No, so no report. Anything from ad hoc for legislative affairs? No. Real property. I was cruising through. McPherson and Schenck Awards. We haven't started.
McPherson Awards have met for the first time. Both award groups are in deliberations now. More to come later. And the DAS will be meeting next week.
Fantastic. Thank you. There is checked off 3 more. Viticulture and winery. No report. And Trustee Dodd has left us, so nothing from the foundation. So that was easy. Any future agenda item requests?
Yes, I have one. Corporations are very good at focusing on profits or the bottom line, but corporations never prioritize the people who struggle the most. Their customers are their lowest paid workers. At a community college, I believe we strive to do things differently by being community focused. I also believe that we budget for our values. By budgeting in a new wine education center, a $12 million sports field, and construction of on-site housing and executive salary increases, And by failing to budget in the adaptive PE class, I believe this board has made a mistake. We sent a message to the community that I believe will harm this school's reputation as a whole and hurt its relationship with the community. I appreciate very much the job that each of the executives is doing and the president, and it's great to have a wine education center in the Napa Valley, but not at the expense of the community itself. What we should have done was to find another funding mechanism first. I therefore propose that we consider creating a new rule that X amount of all donations, even if earmarked for other things, go towards funding the adaptive PE class as a nonprofit in the shell form that we discussed in closed session. And because I can't put a price on humanity, I'll start by suggesting that 50% of all donations should go towards funding the adaptive PE class. I believe it is incumbent on all of us to take care of and lift up the disabled and senior community that was served by this class. And I know that some of us have been working on another possibility for January, but what if that falls through? It's not going to be good enough. So I want to propose that we put this on the agenda in the future.
Are there other members of the board that would support that? I'm not hearing any, so thank you for the suggestion, Trustee Kishnev. We will be moving on. All right, trustee and board chair reports. Student trustee Dizon.
I have a longer one today. Sorry, everyone. And there's more people here to hear it this time. That's nice. This past month has been extremely hectic, both for me and for the campus. As busy as I can claim to ever have previously been. The time between our past meeting to today has been some of the most time and effort demanding of me during my tenure at the college. To speak on some of the more community-focused happenings, clubs have been more active than ever on campus. I feel that there are new clubs sprouting every week, from a new gardening club, see what I did there, to a new Christian club, to the renewal of a math club. I think the wide variety of different clubs that are starting up is a testament to the growing sense of community among different student groups and their desires to make this place their own. Our engineering club, SHIP, hosted their annual breakfast with engineers, bringing in, I believe, 78 people, connecting students with working professionals in different engineering fields. Our theater production of Into the Woods was wonderful. If you didn't have the chance to see it when it was running, just know that you missed out. We have some pretty incredible student talents in our show that I gratefully have the privilege of witnessing. Speaking to my personal endeavors to get what feels like the most boring one out of the way, I've submitted my petition for graduation. The most boring one. Completing my degree and working towards transferring is the penultimate goal of my and all students' ambitions as a student here. So I'm excited to finally walk that stage. Just know that I'm putting it out there on public record that I'm aiming to apply as one of our valedictorian speeches. So if you think my reports are well spoken, just wait till you hear like a bona fide speech. I've connected with the Imagine Science program with the Napa Valley Boys and Girls Club to secure some volunteer opportunities for other students. And so I'll be bringing 10 students next week to volunteer in their STEM showcase that's centered around natural disasters. The most exciting of my endeavors was Kaibigan Club's night market and car show, Kaibigan Night Out this past Saturday. The event was everything we were hoping it to be and more. We brought over 1,000 people to our campus to partake in food, arts, the car show, live music, and just overall community. Selfishly, I want to highlight the familiar names of the incredible student leaders on that team that put everything together. Danica Sebastian, Adriana Garjan, Tyrell Cartado, Milo Luares, Iwan Columbus, and our faculty advisor, Professor Nicolette Morales. And lastly, the part of my report that is most pertinent to this group, as was mentioned very briefly by Professor Kinchlow in his report, while balancing everything else that's going on, I've also made a pretty extensive effort to increase channels of communication and awareness of the changes happening on campus to other students. I've been connecting with various faculties to speak to their different sections. And I didn't quite reach 50 before today, but I've spoken to 48 different sections so far, reaching an estimated amount of over 25% of our student population to inform them of the changes that are happening, while admittedly also encouraging students to partake in the conversation. The student voice is the largest, but also one of the most underutilized voices in our community. And I have felt that students have, one, they have the right to know, and helping make them aware was the least that I could do. I directed these presentations and dialogues that they produced towards figuring out what is the best way for students to have a say in what's going on, in an effort to come together in community so that they can be a part of the dialogue that makes decisions now and in the future, rather than how students currently feel, how they feel that they just experience their aftermaths. I'm hoping that these dialogues serve as a precedent for students to be able to engage in the happenings of the college and have opportunities to participate. At the beginning of my term, I had shared what I learned about what it means to have a seat at the table, because if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, which Trustee Baker supplemented with the phrase, with how if there is no seat for you at the table, you bring your own. And students right now want to bring their own. And by the end of my term, I'm hoping that we make room for more students to participate, and that'll conclude my report.
Thank you. Trustee Kishnev.
I have nothing to report.
Trustee Olson.
I just want to say I'm very excited for Viva Mariachi on Saturday. That's it.
Trustee Rios. Trustee Iverson.
No report.
All right. Well, I would just like to see, I've been practicing this all day. Adishauma, oh, sorry, I'm messing it up. Adishauma Mawara, which means in Farsi, Happy New Year to our people in Iran. I hope you have a wonderful new year. I hope we have peace and prosperity coming soon. So, and I also am looking forward to mariachi. So at that, we don't need to continue in closed session. So our next meeting is April 16th, and we are now adjourned at 8:13 p.m.